So it is fairly cheap to replace a door frame. I was looking online after I had already done the entire repair, and I saw where it was $30 to $60 for a door frame. And I don't exactly know how to put one up, but this is for a rental where the door had been chipped, cracked a little bit, and I just knew I had water putty laying around the house and some paint to touch things up from other portions of the house that I painted white and gray. So I figured, why not just take my time and do this? I had until tomorrow before I was going to be leaving to go to the other house, but I do have some time left to fry getting things done with this house. So it's not like this was a last minute repair, but I did only want to spend one night doing it. So I started by removing that shard there of wood, like that sliver there of wood. And as you can see, it was completely removed. I used Gorilla Glue. Keep in mind that Gorilla Glue does expand, so if you're not a professional with using the thinnest amount for this, I would say use something that will get tacky and will harden up immediately, because this definitely doesn't dry for like 1 to 2 hours, and you have to have something that can hold it up in place. So right away you can already see it starting to come out of the cracks because I went ahead and hammered that frame back into the wall. It had been popped out of place, and I had to move the shard up to be able to push that back into the wall. And then of course the shard had to be adjusted around. Then I'm going in with my water putty. This is something that you can purchase at Lowe's, really anywhere. And you just mix this powder with the water. And I pretty much just went in and using my hands, I mashed it into the crevices of the cracks and just kind of smoothed it out. It's okay if it's frumpy looking. Just make sure you don't get too much frumps, because you will have to go in with a piece of sandpaper and just sand that down later. So try to get it as flat as possible. And here I'm going to show you guys the entirety of the crack in the wall. So it goes all the way up the frame and then all the way down to the floor. And then over on the wall, which I'll be showing next, that paint was completely lifted. So I just went in and took the putty and put it underneath the paint, and then put some on the top of it and smoothed it down. I didn't use any glue or anything to smooth that piece of the wall down, because the people who put this house together did such a poor job. There's already some lifting in the paint. As you can see, there are so many like indications and unleveling of that paint there. It would have looked just fine if I just filed it down and painted over it. Hopefully you guys don't have any problems like this with the paint, but sometimes when that frame gets knocked up from the wall, it does pull some of that wall up with it. So be sure to go in and use your putty in any way that you can, and that is exactly what I did here. Also, that putty does come off with water. It is a water mixture, like solution, so you can use your hand to smooth it out and just remove excess. Like I said, it does come off with water. The next thing I did was went in and sanded it, and you guys can see me going in. It's kind of not rocket science on which grit you should be using. Don't use anything with really giant pieces of, the grit on there. I'm going for something literally the size of grits or sand and sanding this down, and then I'm going to go in with a much finer grit, the one in the package that just barely looks like it has anything on it. And that's what I'm going to go in afterward to just kind of buff everything out. As I said before, if you're removing that mud from the wall properly, you won't have much to sand in the first place. And then I'm going in over the wall and doing it. This will knock up some of the paint in other areas that have paint already down, but it's okay because we're going to be painting over it again anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Just try to get it as flat as you possibly can. And here I'm just showing the two pieces I used out of that Duragold box. They just look very fine grit. This really does seem like a lot of work, but say for instance, if you're, I guess underage or you don't have the money to go and pick up a brand new one, this is something that you can do with stuff that's just lying right around your house. And now I'm going in with some white paint. Do you guys also have problems with going and getting paint matched? It's just never correct. I brought a piece for them to match, and they always seem so lazy with wanting to get the right shade. I think the girl who was doing our paint mixed it like 1 or 2 times before she was like, well, too bad. And for those of you who are really particular with the color of the paint you're using, there are so many shades of white. This one was a little bit too blue, but it's totally fine in this room because of the lighting. It just makes everything look like it's blending together. However, in the foyer, it's harder to hide those parts we painted over for the rental. You want to make sure everything is seamless for the rental because you will have so many charges if you don't, make it seamless. The good thing about this being a light shade of yellow, this putty, is that when you're using an off-white, it just covers it up really well if you're using something very opaque, such as, household paint. And now I'm just going in with that gray. They call that like a grayish color because it's somewhere between beige and gray. And I'm just going in and painting the wall next to the light switch with that. Okay, and here I'm just showing you guys the finished touch. After I put that paint on there, you cannot see any cracks or anything. I even try to go in and put some of that water putty where that chipped off wood was and filled that in, and it worked out just fine. There is not a crack in sight. This works like a charm. I don't know how durable it is, but it is perfect for renting because it'll be just enough for when they come through to check. Everything is intact and you can close and open that door without anything, coming up. And that water putty powder will wash up off the ground. It's just dust. So I hope you guys enjoyed this really easy tutorial. It's a quick little thing that you can do. It'll take you about 6 hours max. And you can just go have a seat and chill out in between each run for these little things that you're going to do. And if you guys enjoyed this little tutorial, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content. I post all kinds of videos on here. I'm very ADD, so I'm just going to be uploading anything I think you guys can find helpful or can relate to. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.